Hey y'all, what's up? Coach Paul here. God has qualified me. This is Move Mondays, and you have greatness in you. Now, before we get to talking about that greatness, y'all know I gotta say this. If you don't move that person, those people, those places, those things, those thoughts, those ideas, or those ways, Coach Paul promises you this. They are definitely gonna move you, and you don't want to move, but they're gonna move you too. Now I'm going to drop my nugget. Here it goes. Either you're going to follow your dreams or you're going to spend your life working for somebody else who's following theirs. Let's get off into the content of the day. I have a special guest, LaLa, also known as Laura or vice versa. She is an honor and a privilege to bring her on here to have some conversations around what are the things that we're moving so that we can get into the greatness that God has called each and every one of us to. Because again, y'all understand this is what Move Mondays is about. Now, I always talk about how God has blown the breath of life into us and we became a living being. So all of us have some of him in us. That's one of the reasons why we all have greatness in us. However, somewhere along our lives, that greatness was interrupted. And what we're talking about today is some of the things that she's moved or is in the process of moving now out of her way so that she could get into the greatness that God has called her to. Now, go ahead, LaLa, Laura, and introduce yourself to the Move Mondays world.
Hi, Laura, also known as LaLa, like Coach Paul mentioned. I have officially started my recovery and sobriety process like in October. I'm about to be a year sober in October. And
Yes,
I'm extremely happy for what life has for me now. Like
yes,
it couldn't have been more amazing than it already is.
yes, yes. Awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations on starting your recovery, right? Journey. And so one of the questions that I want to start with was, you understand that you have that greatness in you, and now you are in a place of recovery. What would if you can pick one thing, what is that one thing that got in your way? Go ahead.
What got in my way was trying to let go of like old friendships and old relationships.
Mm,
Um, Only for the fact that I feel personally that it's in human nature to kind of like readapt to like it's hard to readapt to a new environment, and that was kind of like my downfall right there. I like as soon as I recovered and I got sober, I was still trying to like go see like old friends. I was still trying to go around old relationships, thinking that okay, now that I'm sober, they're gonna be different. But in all due reality, nothing's going to change if it's still the same environment.
right,
It's only a matter of time till
right.
you feel like you hit rock bottom, but in reality you're hitting rock bottom by even associating with old friendships and old relationships. And I feel personally like that was my downfall right there, because I
Mm,
instantly like wanted to go see old friends. I instantly was trying to get rides back to the environment that I know was not healthy for me. And that was hard for me. It was really really
wow,
hard for me.
wow.
Now it's like I kind of reprogrammed my brain to think differently. I reprogrammed
Mm,
like kind of focused on mental stability for myself,
wow.
for the fact that
Mm,
I mean, if they didn't bring me any good then, they won't bring me any good now. Just because I'm sober and I'm recovering doesn't mean that everybody else wants the same for themselves.
wow. Oh man, see, this is awesome. I appreciate everything you just said because you just hit a couple of valid, awesome points that I want to be able to just kind of talk about a little bit today. Now, first and foremost, you talked about because again, how I always start my episodes off with, I talk about how we have to move people, persons, and people. You talked about how it was a pull at you to get back to those old people and persons that you were around, but then on the same token, you say, I want to be able to live this life of recovery, so I have to change my thought process from that standpoint, right? That I can't go around these old people. And then you talked about times where you were even making attempts to go around only to come to a place where you said, you know what? I know I can't do this because if I do, this thing is going to be disastrous. Also, you talked about adapting to new things, right? And then I'm going to get to the mental health a little bit later, but I want to talk to the Move Mondays world about what are some of the new things that you have adapted to. Go ahead.
Family, specifically family. And I say this because throughout my 10 years of addiction, I didn't have no like pure connection with my family members, no pure connection with my son or anything in that nature. There was like no communication whatsoever. And if there was communication, it was always because I needed something for my addiction, and
Right.
there was always
I,
lies. There was always lies in between all of that. If that was contacting them was because, oh, I need this for this, or I need this for food. But in all due reality, there was lies in all of that. There was no connection in all of that. There was no pureness in the conversations I was having with my family members. And those are the new things I've adapted to. I've adapted to practice honesty. I've adapted to just practice, hearing people's opinions without getting hurt.
right.
And by people, I mean my family members. They have their own opinions of me. And before I used to react, but now I just sit there and just analyze it and just, I don't even have to respond. I just have to take it in because some of those things are reality.
Right.
Some of those things are things that I needed to hear. Some of those things are things that I've avoided for 10 years straight and never even, like, I thought that okay, I've only been using for 2 years, and all the reality it's been 5 years. Five
Right.
years that passed.
Right.
And just a new environment that I live in, just to wake up in a household where I know that I'm not going to get hurt, and I know I'm not, out there in the freezing cold or in the hot, or just to know that I'm safe, and to know that I'm waking up next to my son, or I'm waking up, you know, my mother's in the same household, my siblings are in the same household. Just to be able to adapt to all that is just lovely, because a lot of people don't get second opportunities to things like
Right,
this.
right. And that's unfortunate because it's amazing that you said that because I just had a conversation with someone uh to find out that someone, a mutual friend, they found him dead from overdose back home in Chicago. And this is the person that you wouldn't even have when they told me it was this person, the thing was the first response was like, what?
Hmm.
No way, because you would have never have known that this person would have ended up in that place and in that situation. Now, you again, going back to what I always say, you have to move the person, people, places, and things. You have talked about how you've done that, in that you are not going to the same places, and the people that you are around that's in your life, they are conducive to your recovery in the form of family. Like you said, that I know that I'm going to sleep safe and I'm waking up safe. And that's the good thing. We have to make sure that we put that out there at the forefront because some people have have had this misconception of or misbelief that I can do this but be around the same people. I could do this and be around the same places, and that's just not true. You just proved it right there. You just proved it right there when you said that. But here's one of the things that I want to tap into that you had mentioned. You had mentioned that honesty piece. You had mentioned the part about when you were in the past, when you were interacting with family members, how everything was based upon a lie. Greatness and recovery is about being honest, right? Because one of the things that they talk about in the recovery world or in the recovery literature is that recovery is an honest program. Talk to me about how it feels, or tell the Move Mondays world, how does that feel for you, knowing that you are being honest when you open your mouth? Go ahead.
Um, Honestly, I'm not quite sure how to like express myself about it, but I do know that it's a great feeling. It's a heartwarming feeling to know that um I'm coming from an honest point of view now, and I know
Yeah,
that there's no need for me to be hiding things from anyone anymore. You
yeah,
know, like if I'm going through the struggle, they're going to be able to see that struggle, and they're going to be able to kind of how do I say it? They're going to basically be able to observe my struggle because they're here with me. They know what
right,
I'm going through. They know what I'm
right,
not going through. And
right,
that moment that I feel like I'm going to hit rock bottom, they won't see me anymore. They won't hear from me anymore. So it's good to know that, you know, honesty has really been the key to be able to bring my family closer to me.
right, right. And
And
I can relate. I'm sorry. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish
no,
your
and
thought.
sorry. And I was what was I going to say?
You were talking about the
Yes.
honesty piece,
Yes.
and
So it's really a bright like I consider that like when we go down the value line, you know, I know that honesty is one of my values, and I
yeah,
have been practicing it, you know, even though I have been honest, like there's still times where, you know, I think things behind of like my subconscious or my conscious just starts thinking things, and I have to really reevaluate those things and those thoughts, and I have to be like, okay, no,
yeah,
that's not the way you think anymore. Those are not your beliefs. So
yeah.
I have to like reset my mind and how I'm going to perceive things with my family and my children.
Right on, right
Yeah.
on. I love that. Because that was one of the things that I had to work on as well. Because we, again, there was a great deal of dishonesty going on in my life when I wasn't moving in the greatness that God has put inside of me,
Hmm.
attached to the pain and the hurt and the addiction in that whole world. There was a great level of practice, right, in dishonesty, and coming to a place now where, being a little over 11 years into my recovery and healing journey, when I talk to people, people know that I'm honest. You know what I'm saying? People, when people encounter conversations with me, they don't have to worry about, is he telling the truth? What is his motive? Things of that nature, or what is really going on with Paul. They don't have to do any of those things now, and that's the great feeling on both ends. It's a great feeling to know that people are learning how to trust us again, and it's
Hmm.
also a great feeling for me to be able to talk. And I know that I'm like you. I like you talked about reevaluating the thought process, to be able to talk, and I know that what I'm saying is coming from a heart of genuineness. It's
Hmm.
coming from a place or a level of, this is really what's going on, and this is really what, really what I'm asking you for. That is. I love the fact that I'm in a place where people actually trust what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And that's a good thing. You talked about mental health. You talked about mental health. I want to be able to touch that, as we, because here's one of the things that I want the people in the Move Mondays world to understand. We're going to have some awesome conversations, the two of us, but we're not gonna give it to y'all all in one episode. Y'all gonna have to come back and get some more of this. But I want to be able to touch upon mental health and mental illness, because those are some of the things that we are that's in the way of our greatness, of us moving in our greatness as well, right? One of the people that I know, I can't remember her last name right offhand, but her name is Dr. Anita, and she wrote a book called The Garden Within. So I know that for sure. She wrote a book called The Garden Within. I'll get her full name at a later episode. But one of the things that she had said when I met her at a conference, and she said this. This is what she said, LaLa. She said, everybody has mental health, not everybody has mental illness, right? And
Mhm.
when we're attached to whatever trauma, hurt, pain, addictions, or alcoholisms that we have, we more often than not operating in mental illness. Talk a little bit to the audience about what that mental illness was like for you.
Um, so the mental illness, what it was like for me, I hid it throughout, throughout my whole addiction. I literally, I knew I had a problem. I knew that there was something wrong with the way that I think and the way that I'm doing things,
Mm.
but I always blocked them off by just taking a hit, or just, going off by just surrounding myself with the environment that I was
Yeah,
surrounding myself with. I always
yeah,
thought that, okay, like, I've been like this for 5 years, 6 years. What is it to me if I'm like this for the rest of my life? It is what it is. This is what I know. And it wasn't until I finally fully like started recovering that I started feeling all my emotions. I started
come
feeling
on,
like
come on,
everything that I went through,
yeah,
and the things that I went through, I can't go back and fix them. I can't go back and
come on.
not put myself through those situations. Those are traumas
Mm.
that happened already. Those are traumas that, you know, call it whatever, call it, like, those are things that God sent to us to let us know that we are capable of taking more, of
Mm.
taking more, even if those traumas feel like, oh, this is me for the rest of my life. Okay, yeah, it's you for the rest of your life, but like you said, the rest of your life still hasn't ended yet. And
Yes,
we have to learn how to be able to live with those things without a substance in our body.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely. I love that.
that was the probably like one of the hardest things for me, because I was always dwelling on what happened to me, not what was
Mm.
going to happen or what's happening to me now.
Right.
And yeah, it was hard, even going through, like, I talked to psychiatrists and stuff, and I try to avoid like certain questions, or I try to avoid answering certain things in a way that okay, like, I don't have a problem, because I wanted it to go away. But then I had to really sit with myself and ask myself, like, there is something wrong. There's
Mm.
something wrong, because if there was nothing wrong, you wouldn't be in the situation that you're in.
Okay, that's right. That's right. 100%. 100%. And I remembered her name, Dr. Anita Phillips. There you go. There you go. And so, she Lala just shared with you all some of the things, that she went through in terms of how she was trying to hide the mental illness through the drugs, right? Hide the depression, hide the low self-esteem and things of that nature, whatever the things that she was experiencing from a mental illness standpoint, she tried to hide them in the form of the drugs that she was using and in the circles and the communities that she frequented. I understand exactly what she's saying from an experiential standpoint. I tried to do the same thing. However, it never helped because I got more, just like and I'm sure she could attest to this, we got more ill. The illness
Right.
progressed rather than suppressed, right?
Mhm.
It progressed more than it suppressed, and recovery has taught us how to be mentally healthy. That's what it's teaching us. It's teaching us how to be mentally healthy. Yes, we can be able to experience things without using, right? Without digressing, without harming ourselves or hurting ourselves in any other way, shape, form, or fashion. Are you still with me? Oh, you bet. Yeah, yeah. Okay. We can do that. We can experience these things without hurting ourselves. As a matter of fact, we can use these things to help us to get better. What am I depressed about? What is this? Where's this low self-esteem coming from? Where's this low self-value or low self-worth? Why do I feel suicidal today? We can be able to tap into those things and find out what is the why behind it. Which brings me to this: we want to be able to bring you all back on another episode, part two, right? and talk about some of the whys, because one of the things that I understand or have learned along this journey, and I talked about it with LaLa as well when we had met in this other capacity, that everybody has a why. Everybody has a why of how our lives digressed, and we also have a why of why our lives progress. And we'll talk about that in the next episode of Move Mondays. Now, until we meet again, I love every last one of y'all, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Be well. Do the next right thing. God bless you all. And if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. This is Coach Paul, my special guest, LaLa, also known as Laura. Love you. Thank you so much. And we'll
Thank
see
you,
you
Coach
on the
Paul.
next episode. You're welcome. We will see you again on the second part of this episode of Bull Mondays. We'll talk to all y'all later. Deuces.
Thank you. Bye.